This is Rabbi Son, hot takes on news, pop culture, and religion, hosted by Rabbi Patrick and my son, Javon. Spiritual, irreverent, always fearless, produced by Darshan Yeshiva. Let's all take a guess at how Javon is doing today. I think you all know, if you're watching the podcast or listening to it, how he's doing in any given day. Javon, how you doing? Fine. He's always doing fine. Okay, nice. Well, we've got some changes that we're making. So there's going to be a little bit of a format change in terms of lengths of podcasts. We have more podcasts coming out, which will be really exciting. And hopefully producer Kaylee won't be too upset with us that we're doubling the workload. But it's giving you more content, which makes us feel really happy. So like, share, subscribe, join our Substack, darshanyeshiva.substack.com. Please become a student at Darshan Yeshiva. That's what supports all of this madness and pays for the microphones. So let's get into it. We've got Gen Z as the subject for this week's podcast. So Gen Z, mental health and substance use. You got some articles, Javon, you wanted to share.
Yes. So I'm going to start with the mental health crises. Okay, so I'm looking at, which one is this?
We're always
National
prepared.
Library of Medicine. And so basically it's like, during the COVID-19 pandemic or later, anxiety and depression are the two largest mental health issues among Gen Z, with 9 out of 10 individuals diagnosed with a mental health condition having anxiety.
Wait, 9 out of 10?
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people are Gen Z.
Exactly.
It's claiming 90% of Gen Z has anxiety or depression. Is that?
Having anxiety. And 8 out of 10.
Anxiety. Okay.
8 out of 10 having depression. Notably, Gen Z individuals are more comfortable discussing their mental health. 1/3 of Gen Z individuals report posting about their mental health on social media. They also attend therapy and are willing to pay out of pocket for mental health care and services. Despite the comfort of Gen Z in talking about their mental health issues, there is a critical need to address the high rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues that they experience.
Okay, so just to clarify, so it sounds like 80 to 90% of Gen Z has at some point been depressed or been anxious. It doesn't mean they've been diagnosed.
No, that's what I said. 9 out of 10 individuals diagnosed with mental health conditions having anxiety and 8 out of 10 having depression.
Okay, wait. So 9 out of 10 people who have been diagnosed,
Exactly.
It is anxiety or depression, 80 to 90.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right. So there's a whole world of Gen Z people who have not been diagnosed, and they're wherever they are in life.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so what's your hot take on this one?
I don't know. Like I said, I do think that as for anxiety, we all have anxiety.
Right.
There's a difference between anxiety and crippling anxiety. Something that causes a severe reaction and this needs to be medicated.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think people should be diagnosing people with just general anxiety, because we all have general anxiety.
Okay.
And that's something you need to get over and not medicate.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, but you would agree, if there's people who clinically
crippling, severe, panic attack, anxiety, absolutely.
Right. But just people feeling anxious
is not,
or having anxious moments in their lives.
Yeah, that should not constitute a prescription.
Does the willingness of Gen Z, or the openness of Gen Z to talk about their mental health needs, lead to more diagnoses? Whereas my generation, we were a little bit better about therapy than the baby boomers were, and a little bit better than Gen X was. But, we didn't talk about it. It's almost like it's just a topic of conversation. Your mental health is just a topic of conversation. Not you as an individual, but among Gen Z. It's just this very comfortable, you talk about mental health the way that people might talk about accidentally, busting their toe.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Do you think that leads to more people being diagnosed than my generation, which would only go see a therapist if oh my gosh, something severe is happening?
Why wouldn't you see a therapist if that was something severe had happened? Why are you seeing a therapist because your day went bad?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
It's just if you have so many of these mental health issues and you're talking about it, shouldn't you have friends to talk about it with instead of paying for a therapist? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. If it's not clinics, if it doesn't reach the level of clinical severity.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think that even when it comes to therapy, you don't need to be in therapy about things going on every day. Like, that's what you have friends for. Right. I would hope you have friends.
Right.
Good friends.
Right.
That you could talk to stuff about, and they're like reasonable people, and they're not like,
difficult and
exactly.
making it worse for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you need to go to therapy for like certain things, like dealing with certain traumas.
Sure, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah.
Or I mean, people, probably go to therapy because, like, if they tell a therapist something, they legally can't tell anybody else.
Right.
So, like, maybe that's a comfort that. Because people are real fake out here. and like,
because people are real fake out here.
I understand. No, especially like kids.
Okay.
It's like, 1 minute you're friends, and then like you tell all this deep stuff, and then the moment like, it hits the fan, and then
got it. So there's a fear among young people that if they tell their friends how they're doing, it's going to be weaponized against them. So the therapist is better because the therapist isn't going to go and tell anyone unless you're going to hurt yourself, someone else, or break the law.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay. I remember hearing a therapist say that the reason why, and this was like them like telling a joke, but there's also some truth to it, that the reason why you go to a therapist, the reason you pay a therapist is so that you don't have to listen to their problems. Meaning you don't just pay a therapist to listen to you, because you probably could find a friend, a family member, someone like that to talk to you. You pay for the expertise and the fact that you are not emotionally responsible to now listen to whatever they have going on. And that boundary created by the transaction is actually comforting on some level to people. So,
yeah, but I do think people need, better friends. People just have to be better people.
Yeah.
And like, if someone tells you something that's not like dangerous, and like if it's personal business that like is like, I don't like trivial, like, everyday stuff about how you're feeling, that shouldn't be like something that's, used against somebody. And it's like, kids and adults, because, people can be petty and say, oh, but didn't you tell me, and then use that against you,
Yeah. I worry about this with a culture where people have lots of like followers and fans and, if you're still on Facebook, friends on there, but like ultimately they feel like they have no one to talk to. And so it's cathartic maybe on some level to post on social media, like, here's my mental health problems, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe you get a little bit of a release, and maybe when you get the comments, you get a little bit of a hit.
But like, that's a negative too.
Right.
Like, you can post about the mental health issues and someone can be like, yourself.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like,
unalive. We use the term unalive. Unalive.
Yeah, unalive for a podcast.
Okay. Right. Right.
We're talking like real stuff. Like,
yeah.
Censorship and all that.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We don't get to decide how the algorithm thinks, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately not. But yeah, like, people can take you to a darker space than you otherwise, would have been. And like, sometimes you have to like, learn how to stay off of social media.
Right.
Like, learn how to live your life without that validation from strangers that these people are getting. Like, they have these followers that are keeping up with their lives, and they seem so much interesting, and then like whole time like their life is falling apart.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying here about like, when is the right time for different types of people in your life. So when is a good time to talk to a friend? When is a good time to talk to a counselor? I feel like as society has become more secular, we've taken the role of, like, in my case, rabbi, but then pastor, priest, whatever. And we've eliminated that sort of wisdom role in people's lives. And we've put it all on therapeutic practice, right? So the therapist is doing the role that a clergy person can't unless they're trained to do it. But then also on some level, they're trying to help people with like the transcendent, right? Like finding meaning in their life in a way that's actually something the clergy know how to do. Our responsibility is if someone comes to us and says, I'm having a spiritual problem, which they never word it that way, but like if they are, to like be able to divide out, is this a spiritual problem? Is this a social work issue? Like they need resources, they need to be connected to somebody. Is this a mental health issue? Is this something that can be resolved by, the sort of fellowship of their fellow, religious group, or in the case of addiction, the fellowship of addicts, people like that. And then our job is to triage that out. So like you come with an issue, we're that person in your life who often is on the front lines of mental health. And then our job is to say, okay, here's my lane that I can be in. Here's my lane that I need to stay out of. And here's all the friends I can connect you with in my own personal circle. And I do think there is a problem of this kind of, it's like we've privatized our pain, that our pain just is supposed to stay sort of in our rooms or in our houses, or it needs to be blasted out to millions of people on the internet, or we need to pay someone to listen to us. And these people like clergy, friends, mentors, coaches, people like that, that role that's like a middle ground has disappeared.
I mean, some people were just raised that way of like, don't tell anyone your problems, like deal with it yourself, which is not a healthy way to go.
Right.
But like, it's a form of not being vulnerable.
Right.
And not like letting people see that. Because then it's like this thing of, oh, now they see that. So now like they have one up on me.
Well, you've talked about that with me before, about more commonly in the Black community, you find that a little bit of a like, you like keep it to yourself, sort of stuff like that.
I also just think it's a Southern thing.
Southern thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, avoid the gossip culture.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Because the proverbial church ladies are always listening for the gossip. Yeah.
Always the ear out, shoulder to cardio, ear out, mouth open to the next person.
I will say I'm very lucky that I don't experience that in our congregation, but I know rabbi friends of mine have talked about that before, of like, once the kind of cadre of, women over 75 know what's going on, it's like, it just goes out. It's the original Twitter.
Exactly.
Like it just, yeah.
See, so that, that made people be like skeptical of people that like, oh, right. So now you offer me the shoulder to cry on.
Right.
And I'm not crying on the shoulder. It's like, now my business, the moment I turn around, is going to end up to like, Susie, Margaret, and like, Lori Mae. And it's going to be everywhere.
I just love these names.
And it's going to be everywhere. And then like people, like, especially today, people can't trust people.
People can't trust people. Now, are you saying people can't trust people? Like they're not capable of it?
People should be wary of people.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You don't know about that, but like, sometimes it's better to be wary of people. And like, you can be wary and then you can like, it's called being wary doesn't mean like closing people off and like saying everyone is just like bad.
Okay.
It's, I'm watching you. Like we're building a rapport and we're building a relationship, but I'm in the meantime, I'm seeing as you do.
Right. Well, okay. So I will agree with you. I might use a different word, which is having boundaries. And I've seen this in Jewish life where new people will come into a congregation and they come in hot. They like want to volunteer for everything. They're so pumped, all of that. And that's all great. And I'm super into people who are into helping community. But you have to be careful because, there's the expression about dating of like, if it starts off hot, it'll burn up or however that goes. It's a very similar thing of like, you'll have people who will go into community and they don't know how to have boundaries for themselves. And so just instantly everyone in the congregation is their friend. Instantly they're like giving a lot of personal information about themselves. And then they have this sense of like, they're supposed to get something from that. Like something is supposed to happen in some way, or like they have an expectation that their issues that they have are going to dissolve because, well, I told everybody my business, and then it backfires and, insert number of issues. And it's like, it's actually very important that people who get involved in community understand that, like, you should go into it and you should have boundaries, right? You shouldn't try to make everyone your best friend immediately.
I mean,
right?
But you shouldn't be doing that in general.
Well,
in, like,
true.
any environment. Like,
yeah, you should
like,
respect yourself.
Like, you should be
right.
like, come in, hi, my name is, I do. And then, like, leave that. It's like a fresh meeting. And then, like, the more you sit with somebody, it's like,
Yeah.
The more you get, you don't tell someone, like, oh, my name is, and I have this, and that going on. And then
right.
Sometimes, like, you being, like, a Debbie Downer, or, like, like, oversharing, and then people, like, don't know how to take that because, like, they don't know you.
Right.
And then it's like, well, why are you telling me this? I don't know you. It's like, I wouldn't know how to, like, respond in this particular moment, in this setting.
Right.
Especially with a very public setting.
Right.
And then, like, you're just telling, it gives, like, weird.
Yeah. I mean, you do have circumstances where people, it's called trauma bonding, and it's where people make these friends and I'm not going to say it in the correct clinical way, but, like, basically you make friends through this, like, shared grief or shared pain. And that sounds wonderful. Like, that sounds like a very affirming thing. The problem is it basically becomes like a codependent relationship. And so you have to be real careful with that kind of stuff. And, like, also, but having said all that, I sympathize with people because, for 2 years, we basically stopped making friends. We stopped interacting with people. And we did it all virtually if we did. And also, like, in my line of work, people don't, like, a lot of people who I see in congregational life, they are new to this. They are new to, like, you go to someone's house for Shabbat dinner, or you join a congregation and you're sitting in a pew, let's say. Like, it's not like the old days where people shopped, like, oh, well, we went to this synagogue, now we go to this temple, now we go to, like, this Chabad, whatever. It's a little bit more like, I grew up with nothing, and now I'm trying this for the first time. So they don't know, like, what is an appropriate relationship with clergy? Am I the friend? Am I the counselor? Am I the teacher? Am I, whatever? And then also, what's your relationship to all of these other people? Are they your friends? Are they your associates? Like, what? And then you get into some of the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
about,
you
like,
should assume
oversharing or undersharing, for that matter. It happens the other way too.
I don't know about that.
Really?
No.
Well, you're sort of anti-sharing.
Yeah, because
except on a podcast.
I mean, I don't share business on here. I share opinions, but opinions are like, opinions.
Yeah,
It's like a general thing that everyone has. But, like, I don't think undersharing is a problem.
Okay. Well, I mean, undersharing in the sense of, like, yeah, maybe some people are uncomfortable, like, they don't want to present all of who they are, but also, like, I guess it depends on what you think you're going to get out of it. Because there are people who come into community who don't, like, they're basically ghosts. And then they wonder, like, why am I not getting anything out of this? And it's like, well, you get what you put in. So if you don't really talk during class, or if you don't, ask about volunteering opportunities, or you don't, whatever, then yeah, you're probably not going to have a good time. Like, there is a social element to this.
I mean, but I will say, from the opposite of your opinion, when it came to the pandemic, I do feel as though, like, for children, for very young children, I would get why the pandemic affected them and their ability to, talk to people, make friends.
Okay.
But as for adults, like, you've been adulting for, like, this long period of time.
Right.
Like, you should be able to navigate social situations.
You would think so. I think a lot of people never bounced back from that.
I don't know. It's, it's a social situation. It's pretty easy for some people. I wouldn't say everybody, but, like, it's,
yeah.
Hi, my name is, a handshake, and, you do. And then, like, boom, conversation. Like, it's, I think people think it's harder than, like, it actually is in practice.
Okay.
But it's really not.
Okay.
Like, it starts off with, like, a simple compliment. oh, I like your shoes, I like your watch, I like your earring.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, your name is, oh, you do, like, and then like, go on.
Sure.
Like, that's simple introduction to conversation. I
This
feel like this should be a class.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe we need to have like, socializing 101, and you could apply it to your congregational life or to any, anything in your life.
Yeah, because I don't know. Well, I guess it's the problem for some people.
It is. It's just as much a problem for older people than it is for, young folks.
I don't know. I think maybe we lack etiquette.
We lack etiquette?
Yes.
Okay.
Like as a society. Like, lack social etiquette.
Right.
Like, see, if this was the case, if we had social etiquette, then this would be a problem.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Know how to interact. Even if the pandemic would have happened, you still would have known and learned how you behave and interact with people. At least on like a standard, floor level understanding of like
because you get rid of 2 years of casual social interaction, and that muscle that people have of like how to engage with other people withers. Like okay, a silly example, like what happens when you forget how to stand in line because you just are used to getting in your car, going to Target, picking up the bags from the person who hands them to you, and you leave.
Yeah, but you've been standing in line since, kindergarten.
Right, but that's the thing is that I think we didn't realize, because how would we have known, how quickly people's brains atrophy in that way. Like you would think that like, okay, you're 18 years old, you should be able to, for 2 years, not stand in line, and then at age 21 be able to stand back in line and be a normal human being. But I think that there's something about lack of time with others that has some, I mean, this is like statistician stuff that I could never like, I'm speaking totally from like a place of lack of intelligence, but like I just think that maybe a month of not engaging with other people might be the equivalent loss of like a year of a person's development. I don't know what it actually is, or if this is a thing. If there are any like psychologists or sociologists who watch this, listen to this, please reach out to us. We want to know, is it possible for people to regress? That's what I'm thinking. And then maybe the regression is greater. You don't lose a month, you lose a year for every month or something.
I don't know. I just have to disagree. Not for disagreement purposes, but I do just feel
you do like to disagree, though.
Yeah, but I just do feel like that if you were raised knowing how to go into social situations,
right,
and knowing how to behave, and that goes to behaving in the store,
right,
like
right.
when you were told, like, look, you don't go in here acting a fool,
right,
like you don't do that screaming and hollering. When you see a toy, if you don't like, there is no we're here for this specific purpose,
sure,
and then specific purpose, and then you go. There is no tantrums. There are no but I want. There is no ruckus.
So you think that is a huge problem, is people aren't getting that kind of training early in life, and that leads to these sort of Karens or whatever going nuts at Target.
I do feel like people have a sense of entitlement, and that's like, and some people who weren't raised right, for like lack of better words, who just were like given to them everything, and then like no one correcting that. And I do feel like people need to correct that, and we go into like on parenting, society should be allowed to be a corrector. Yeah, because you don't want like your kids just going out and then being like acting a fool in public, and then like you just look like a fool, and then like your child grows up, and then it's like this like problem. Yeah.
I mean, the way that children act, it's unfortunate because it's a double-edged sword. So the way children act in public is a reflection of their parenting. Also, you sometimes as the parent can't control how your child's behaving. So it's like, depending on the circumstances, it kind of is what it is.
See, I don't have to disagree, because like, see, it's all about,
the title of this episode is Javon Disagrees.
No, because like you just lessons being learned. Like if you start your child be like, look, no, you're not getting that toy.
Right.
Put it down. We are in here for grocery shopping.
Right.
Keep that child right there. Don't let them wander off. We're for grocery shopping.
Right.
You don't do that screaming and hollering, and you better not touch that floor or consequences.
Okay.
Exactly.
So but a child's behavior,
child. It's like I see what you're trying to get.
It's not every time. I'm saying I am agreeing with you, but it's a yes and. Yes and a child might try to push that boundary, and
then consequences.
And then there's consequences, but did those consequences lead to a child actually really understanding something? Or did they learn the wrong lesson? Or did they just get, harmed in some way? Or is the child, from a personality standpoint, so obstinate that you have to try a different way to approach them other than don't you dare this, don't you dare that. Because part of parenting is creativity. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes you just have to be creative with stuff.
You do.
And you never know what's going to work, to be honest.
Yeah, and then they need to make it work. If you go to the store and your child don't take your child to the store.
All right, well, right, okay, then that would be...
Until they learn how to behave.
Right, it's a natural consequence.
Yeah.
If you
maybe the child needs to mature.
Yeah.
Some children, get it. Some don't. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you on that. All right, so we'll reach the end of our time. Shorter forms than we normally do. Thanks again, everyone, Rabbi and Son. Please follow, share, subscribe. Thank you, Darshan Yeshiva. Thank you, producer Kaylee. Thank you, Javon. We'll see you next time. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.